Hey there everybody, it's Nathan Cool with nathancoolphoto.com, and in this tutorial I want to share with you the most commonly used technique that I do when I'm trying to hide myself and my tripod from reflections in mirrors. This is something you'll probably come across shooting real estate photography when you open up the bathroom door and there's no way to get around it. You're going to have your tripod yourself in there, but we're going to turn it into something that then looks like this. So it's a very simple process to do. It's something you might take a look at and go, well, it's just a matter of using the clone tool, but it's not. It's even simpler than that. So like I said, about 90% of the time I do this. I talk about this a little bit and some other techniques in my advanced editing book and my real estate photography series. And by the way, you won't need that book for this tutorial, but if you are interested in any of the books in my real estate photography series, I do have a link to that in the description for this video. So without further ado, let's jump into this and see how this is done. So here we have already loaded up into Photoshop the couple of images that we would normally take doing the flash ambient blend. Here's our ambient shot, and then here is the flash shot. And by the way, if you're not familiar with the flash ambient blend, I've got other tutorials about that. Just search for that on this channel. Look, for instance, for the One Light real estate photography. You'll find that. And also I cover this throughout my real estate photography series. Anyways, we've got our ambient shot. We're going to take that and turn that into luminosity mode like we normally would. So I'll just do that right now and then add a layer mask to hide all that. Now you can see that even in the ambient shot there's no way to hide the tripod, and then of course in the flash shot I've got myself holding the flash up here. It's reflecting into the mirror up here, and obviously I'm there. So one thing I do real quick just to get myself at least out of the picture is I'll step to the side and I'll take another flash shot in here. Now one thing I did do here, it's a little bit of a lighting technique, and by showing this in the lighting guide, is that I have a flash unit, also a little speed light that's inside this shower area. And so he's just mounted over on a little shelf that was off to the side here. You can always put it on like the back of the toilet, all those different ways that I show in the lighting guide. Anyway, so I've got that, but I just need to edit myself out. So step inside, take one little flash shot, layer mask, hide, and now I'm just going to brush in some of that just real quick with the brush tool here. And I'm just, tapping this in here. This is a low flow brush, so it's just blending it. The flow is about 30%. So get myself completely out of there, and I'm happy with it. That's good. Now, I would have done better on here if I would have had also a flash in the hallway. Being quick with this, I didn't. And if we take a look at the ambient blend on it, it's good enough. The colors are fairly accurate in there for what we're going to need, and this is just a very simple bathroom. I wouldn't waste much time on it. So let's add some of that ambient in here. Now we can brush in just like we normally would some of this ambient lighting, so we get a little bit more. It doesn't look as flashy around here. We can see where we are by doing a shift click on that. That looks good. Don't want to get too much up there, but it's probably about right. And we don't want to really accentuate the outside hallway either. So that probably is fine. We might even erase some a little bit off here. This also might just use a very quick 50-50 blend on this like I show in other videos. You can also search for 50-50 on my YouTube channel, show that technique as well. So let's say that that's good enough. We've got all the ambient blending that we want in there. Everything looks fine. One thing I would first do is I try to correct some of these colors. Now there's another tutorial that I have. It's called Fast Fix for Color Cast. That video shows how to do this, but I'm going to use the action that I have for it, which does it by a curves layer, and I'm going to put that up here, and you can see then with it and without it we've corrected that color cast that was coming in. So that looks good to me. I could even change some of that by just changing some of the opacity down a little bit. If we're happy with the way things look and everything's fine, maybe take out a little bit more ambient up here on some of these lights. That's fine. Let's just flatten that image and we're going to start our process. Now, before I'd flatten it, just so I can go back, what I'd rather do is select all the layers. So I'm going to select up here, go to select all layers. I'm going to then duplicate those layers, and I'm going to do Control J, and then I'm just going to right click on that, and then I'm going to merge those layers. Now I have one single layer that I can use for editing. I can shut everything off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here, and this is the very simple fix. A lot of times this will happen. If you know this ahead of time, it's good to plan for it. Here I tried not to let my camera overlap onto the door, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a polygon. So you grab your polygon tool up here, it's under lasso. Grab the polygon tool. I'm going to draw a polygon right above the camera, like about this. I'm going to overlap on that door just a little bit, go up here really high as I can go without too much of it, and close that polygon. Now what I'm going to do is copy and paste that as a new layer. So Control C, Control V, and now you can see I've got this new layer over here. It's called layer 1. Now what I'm going to do is distort it. So if you go to Edit and you go down to Transform and you go to Distort, now we can distort that. So I'm going to take the bottom of this and stretch it down so that it covers all that area. Now I'm stretching it down over top of the mirror as well, and that's fine. We're going to place a layer mask on that and delete what we don't want. So we'll go to Layer Mask, Reveal. Now take a polygon tool and draw it across. For instance, here I draw it across the bottom of the mirror, and then to just whatever, and then I can delete that. Now that's already looking better, but we have some reflection stuff off the mirror here. If we want to gather some of that, then we want to get in finer. So let's go in here and see what that looks like. So if we wanted to get rid of that, what we do is go into here, take our quick selection tool, and select that little doodad. That happens to be the reflection from that faucet head. So we'll just select that very carefully, turn that back on, and then delete that. So that looks pretty good. Let's go back out here, and there we have it. So basically it's just creating a layer of whatever's in the background. Sometimes I'll get a little wonky out here, and I'll actually sometimes stretch the door. Now there's also, if you notice here, a little bit of my camera is showing up here. That happens to be the trigger. So at that point, that's a fairly easy fix too. Let's go ahead and flatten this layer, flatten image. We're pretty happy with it. We'll discard all those hidden layers. Now what you can do also, I can stretch this whole thing here and do the same thing just like I was showing before. So what we'll do is we'll take a polygon of this area, just like I did there, and that's probably pretty good. We'll copy and paste that just like we did. We have a new layer, go to Edit, Transform, Distort, and then we can bring that distortion over top of it. Yeah, it's stretching that cutout of the door a little bit. Layer Mask, Reveal, and then we'll just draw a little bit over here to delete that. Boom, that's good. Now, a little bit of it's still showing up here too, some black reflection. For real estate photography, I really wouldn't worry about that. If you're doing this for a designer, yeah, you might want to do something a little better for it. If you wanted to take this also further, by the way, and we wanted to correct some of these other colors in here that are going on with the paint, there's ways to do that with some color layers. I can show you that also just here real quick if you want to. Let's take our sample. Let's go out here into the hallway. Take, for instance, this color, and we'll add now another layer. We'll call it a new fill layer. We'll do a solid color. It's going to use that color that we just selected. We change that mode into color mode, and then we'll invert that layer mask, and now we can take, for instance, our polygon tool, and without getting the door jamb in there, we can start doing stuff like that. Use maybe our brush tool and brush some of that in there to get a little bit of a color match. So without that color layer, it would look like this little purplish, and with that, we could do the same thing onto the mirror, and those are small little changes, but this just gives it a little bit more realistic. Anyways, that's the most common way. When we get all done with this, and finally all the editing is done, the final product looked like this. Well, I hope this video was useful for you and that you can use some of this in your photography as well. If you did like this tutorial and you want to see more, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. It won't cost anything, and as soon as one of these videos is posted, you'll be the first to know. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, take care, be safe, and get out there and shoot something.